Okay, I'm just gonna jump right in because it has been a very busy summer for our project team. So to start off with a little bit of context on what the EdTech Integration Strategy Toolkit is, the toolkit is an app that was developed last year by the EdTech Center at World Education. It is designed for educators and practitioners who are looking to explore different classroom or instructional routines and strategies that incorporate the use of technology. Thanks, Jen, for dropping the link in the chat. So each routine contains instructions or tips for how to implement it, as well as connections to the Seattle Digital Literacy Initiative's digital skills framework, so you can see which learner skills are being used and developed in each activity. The toolkit covers several different tech tools ranging from, Zoom and Google Classroom to Moodle and Reach to WhatsApp. And you can sort routines by the purpose of the routine, so what the learner is doing. You can sort by the purpose of the tool as well as the tool itself, and you can sort by the digital skills that are covered in that routine. And the great thing about this app is you don't even need to download it to use it. You can just access it anytime on your computer or on your phone using the link that is now in the chat. Next slide, please. Great. So before we jump into the newest part of the toolkit, we just wanted to check in. Has anyone here used the toolkit before? And if so, what did you use it for? What was helpful about it? And feel free to drop your answers in the chat. We'll pause for about 1 to 2 minutes so we can take a look at the answers. Okay, so I feel like it's pretty evenly split. So I'm going to actually pass it over to Catalina now to talk about the new section to the toolkit.
Wonderful. I'm glad everybody looked at all these slides already, so I can go very quickly through this. So what is new? What is new in this app? So we have new program practices, and you will ask, why is tech integration important at the program level, and how is it essential for immigrant integration? So the tech integration, as we know, can dramatically expand access to learning opportunities, including ESOL, and related inclusion supports, including digital navigation for both immigrants and refugees. We learned during the remote ESOL project that, not surprisingly, program supports are fundamental to ensuring success in key moments of the learning continuum, including recruitment and orientation, instructional design, and persistence. So tech integration expands access to inclusion supports like language access, digital navigation, content access, and supports. And that are the tools that we have included now in the app. So what is in a practice? So you can read, explore, implement, and integrate. You can read from the remote ESOL brief where the practice was taken from, look at the details and how the other programs implemented that practice. You can explore and see what evidence-based strategies from the Learner Variability Navigator are part of the practice. You can, of course, learn how to implement this practice. And you can also look at digital skills that are connected to the practice, so you can integrate those. So here are some examples in the program practices. You will find digital tools that you can use to support language access, including multilingual surveys and apps to help improve readability. You can find tools that you can use to provide digital literacy supports and digital navigation, and to facilitate access to instruction or complementary resources that can be accessed anytime, anywhere. And you can also find tools that you can utilize to offer persistent supports like texting apps or customized video channels for your learners. And just because some of these practices were taken from the remote ESOL project, it doesn't mean that you need to use them exclusively with English language learners. Of course, you can adapt these practices to other learners in your program.
Of course, just looking at these static examples on the screen and listening to us talk isn't very exciting. So we're actually going to take about 5 or 6 minutes right now for us all to independently look at the app and check it out. So I'm going to drop the link to the app again in the chat. So feel free to access that from, again, either on your computer, on your phone. You don't need to download it. Oh, thanks, Jen, for making sure that got sent through. And take the time to check out a few program-wide practices that might interest you or your program. And once you have finished taking a look, we'd also love to hear from you either via the chat, or if you like to unmute yourself, tell us about one strategy that you'd like to explore further or think about implementing. So tying everything together, I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about where this work is coming from. So these additions to the toolkit were part of the work under the Transforming Immigrant Digital Equity, or TIDE project, which is a continuation of the remote ESOL project that Catalina mentioned. Just as a reminder, the remote ESOL project was the inspiration or the source of these practices that have been newly added to the toolkit. And so TIDE is expanding upon that ESOL learning angle and also weaving in digital inclusion as well as immigrant inclusion. And so we are kind of tackling that work through different branches, including documenting effective practices such as in the toolkit here, working on supporting adult education advocacy to participate in State Digital Equity Act planning, and working with 3 pilot site communities to develop over time, hopefully replicable local models that other sites and communities can use at their local level. And of course, because this work does center immigrant inclusion, we wanted to highlight that today is the first day of Welcoming Week 2022. Welcoming Week is an initiative by Welcoming America that is a time for promoting and supporting the work that communities and organizations do in order to make their local regions more inclusive and welcoming to immigrants and refugees. So on the right-hand side, you have a very small graphic of our new ecosystem model that we are working on piloting with our pilot site communities. And if you check out the World Education Twitter and LinkedIn over the course of the next week, you can dive a little bit deeper into what our thinking is behind including partners from all sectors into creating a welcoming and truly inclusive and equitable community for adult immigrant and refugee learners.